I'm still a little under the weather as opposed to being over the weather, but the show must go on. And I'm not over the weather yet. If it keeps going, I think I'm going to go from under the weather to over the weather forever. But that's okay. That'll be a good thing, probably. I'll take that as a win. I was so under the weather that I went from under the weather to over the weather forever. If you're really under the weather, it's possible you're going to go from under the weather to over the weather forever. Gotta write that down. That's good shit. That's good material right there. The show must go on, though, otherwise people are going to perceive that you're super under the weather, and that's when the woke people get you. That's when they attack. Send the docs. The docs code goes out. That guitar must be worth something. Even though we cracked the side of it, I think we could trade it for a cup of soup or whatever, for a hot dog or something. I don't know. Anyway. Let's see what we got here. I'm gonna so maybe I'll get back into like the chord thing, but I don't know. Let's see how I feel. What I was playing with was the idea of like I was kind of thinking last night because I was watching some code thing on information theory because that's what I do when I had nothing to do. So I was like watching that, and I was like looking at the Morse code thing, and I was thinking, that like you should be like, so you can kind of map that out on the guitar, really, because and I was thinking because this whole like the idea of changing the scale degrees to not have the starting point on the root, but measure from it, which is just a logical change, and then to change the idea of instead of having 5 distance nomenclature names, meaning a major, minor, perfect, which requires then a diminished and an augmented to name all the distances when you look at like the second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on intervals, when you only really need 2, which is short and long. Like that seems to annoy people, I've noticed. And then when you put it into Excel and you use Office tools to like do music, that too seems to annoy people. So, in the tradition of annoying people that I have been embarking on, apparently, wasn't really my original objective, but I feel like I get it because people are like the AI is tripping people out, particularly in music, and I get it because let's face it, by the time you tune your guitar, the AI can write a song that's better than like the top 10 songs currently out right now, almost guaranteed, like maybe like 1 or 2. And it's just like and actually has meaning to it with the lyrics and stuff, and that's kind of scary. It's like, what are we gonna do with that? I mean, that's pretty amazing. So I get they're a little on edge. So if you start saying, hey, well, what we should do is make the music system more logical by basically, making it more like code, I guess, is probably what's in their mind, which is kind of true because that would be a more efficient system. they're probably going, no, so people are in fight mode right now against the, or certain people are. But again, it's like fighting against the wind. It's like, dude, I don't think that. So anyways, so I kind of thought like, if that annoys people, you could, if we actually use the guitar to like code, what if like instead of like using code to make music, which is already pissing people off, you simplified the guitar down to the point where the nomenclature is basically code, and then you can actually code with the guitar, right? That would be funny because you're like, they're mad because you're making art with code. That's not right? You can't do that. But then it's like, you like flip it and it's like, well, no, I'm going to code with the music. I'm going to use the music to code. You can't, I just think there's something about that. I'm not a coder, but I was looking at the code things, and I thought that was kind of a funny idea. Anyway, so I was thinking then that like let's see if R is available. Like the easiest code is just actually Morse code, I think, to like just do a phrase. So I'm just going to try to map out like a phrase in Morse code, and like so I can actually kind of talk like literally by decoding in the guitar, right? Which isn't, again, I know that's not exactly musical, because the musical thing would be, you're trying to talk through emotions, not through a decoder ring on the guitar. I get that. I'm just saying, like, I'm already basically, my idea is like, look, I'm already kind of going through the idea that you could, you can choose like any note in the system and come up with a pattern, right? And from a rhythmic standpoint, I should be able to basically choose any notes in the collection of notes and make it work with the right rhythm. So like, right, so this like this collection of notes, I'm diagonally going up, but they're all in the collection. So I should be able to, it's kind of funky, right? But I should be able to make it work with the right rhythm. So that's one of the exercises that I think is interesting, instead of really thinking about the notes as though I'm thinking exactly what I want each note to give me. I'm just thinking of a pattern, and I'm saying I'm trusting the pattern's going to work because it's in the 7-note collection. I can go outside the 7-note collection and then use that as my bass line, and then go outside of it if I want. Right? So then that's just so if you're doing that, then it's just a question of, okay, which patterns should I make so that I could kind of practice with, right? So it's just like most people do it kind of randomly. I'm going to use a rhythm. So you can kind of do it with rhythm, but then you end up doing kind of like the same thing most of the time. So I mean, it's almost better to kind of like try to somehow randomly come up with the pattern. And so one way to randomly come up with the pattern would be maybe to make like a code of the pattern, because that would be kind of interesting. Because notice, like in the 7-note collection that we have, like here's 1, 2, 3. Like if I'm in Ionian, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I just look at those 7 notes, or those 7 nodal points, then I'm not going to worry about whether the distance is long or short. I'm just going to take that 7-note collection and say, note that what happens when I play a string or a phrase just one note at a time. It's almost always that I'm going to either do a 1 modal half step up, boom, or a 2 modal half step up, or I would call a modal whole step. Now that one or two modal half step and whole step might be that like for example, the modal half step between 3 and 4 is less of a distance, but it's still one modal half step. And then the long distance could be a 3 nodal distance for a 2 modal half step, or it might be if you went from here to here, that 3 note distance is a 4 note distance, right? But if I look at it just from the 7 note collection, whenever we're like running a line, and I'm just going modal whole step or modal half step, you know. So that, and which kind of maps onto Morse code, or a binomial, or what do they call it? I forget the word, but you know, two on off, right? So that would be long, or that would be short. This whole thing is short, right? Short. But instead of going from, there also is a distance from here to here, but I'm always going to say that there's a new starting point. So there's a new starting point. It's each phrase is the interval, a two note. They're built by 2 note phrases instead, because there is a distance from this 7 to this 3. So maybe it doesn't work perfectly because I would need a space there, but that I can kind of build a phrase that would be short, and then if I made this one long, it would be short, long, short, long. So I don't know. So it kind of throws it. So that means like I would be looking for the distance. Like I can't go from this 7 to the 3, right? That would be, I'm not looking for that distance. I'm going to say each interval is has a new starting and ending point. And I don't know if that works, but let me see if Aura can give me a phrase that I can try to map out just for the fun of it. Maybe I have to rethink my idea here. I was probably like hallucinating last night, so maybe I wasn't thinking exactly in a way that would be coherent, but I still think there's something to this, man. There's something to this, I'm telling you. Ara. Ara, I can't hear you. Ara's broken. It's all over. We can't do it. Ara's broken. Oh. You can't be broken, Ara. I'm sick. I need you. This is... Alright, Aura's not working. Dang it! I can't get my Morse code lines. Alright. I will explore that later. Maybe that doesn't make it. Alright, let's just choose a different pattern. So I'm gonna try to go down and then up. So I'm just gonna choose a pattern and then I'm gonna noodle around. Let's start with the Mixolydian, and then I'm gonna go down like this, diagonal like to like here, and then I'm going to go back up like diagonal. That's too far, so that expands. So if I go, seems like I went pretty quickly. Something's wrong with that. It should be right here. Boom, boom. And then I can go back up this way. Boom, boom. And then boom, boom. If I did like a little V pattern like that. Do it piece by piece. So then when I'm here, I'm going. And then 10. This is wrong. This needs to be going back. So I'm going do, and then it goes up here. And then when I go up here, I'm reaching out. So when I'm here, so then I need to go down, down. difficult than you would think, kind of. What if I went from here, and then I was like, now I'm gonna go like backtrack, and like go backward. Like maybe I go like the same one underneath it, but then I like backtrack, and then I go back this way, and I'm like, now I'm just gonna travel back this way, 2 notes per string, and then I'm like, and I do something like that, 2 notes per string, and I end off, and yeah, and then I end off where I started. So that's kind of cool if I do it that way. I meant to do that. That's how I meant to do it. And then it would go. So notice that, I mean, it just seems like if you just come up with phrases like that, then you kind of break out of you can see the bigger, like I'm trying to break out of the pattern, obviously, because most people, most of the time we get stuck in these patterns. And, and I mean, I feel like people get too mixed up on like, well, I need to really think about exactly what I'm playing, or else I don't need to think about it. I need to just let it flow, man, which is cool too. That's another point of practice. But you're going to end up doing the same thing all the time. It seems like because that's what the flow is going to lead you to, because that the river has gone down that path multiple times. So you're going to have to force the flow down a different path before you can flow something different. So I kind of feel like just randomly picking the pattern using Morse code. I wanted to say like okay and more. I mean, I'm still thinking that should be something doable. See if Grok is back yet. Grok, I need you. I'm dying. I'm under the weather. If you don't help me, I'm going to be over the weather forever. I'm going to be over the weather forever. Okay. No, it's broken. Dang it. What am I paying my $30 for? For unlimited talking to the all-knowing AI. Dang it, I expect results. All right. I don't know. It's trying to think now. Charge me $30 for this crap. iPhone. All right, let's try a joke break. Let's see. Okay. So I haven't really checked the news today. I don't know exactly what's going on. but they're still arguing, of course, over this Middle East action, and who's the totalitarian? It's Trump. He's it's not the crazy guy that was. So that's what the mainstream of media wants to say, but they can't do it because they've fallen from grace. They no longer have the monopoly, but now the big podcasters have filled the slot and they're taking the Qatari cash, and now they're running the cover, they're running the propaganda, and so that seems to be the picture. It's sad, but I don't know. I still think we're better off than having the monopoly media, but so that's where we're at on that, as far as I know. So for at least 30 years or so, nobody has been able to curb the increasing bullying of the radical, Muslim populations. I mean, it's been a bit of a problem. While politicians at the same time keep saying, don't worry, this is no problem. This is no problem. And it's like, what the heck? You said this was no problem. I see problems. Lots of problems. We've had lots of problems for quite some time now. And we assumed, and maybe this was our mistake here, obviously, because we know that you're a politician, but we assumed you had a plan to keep us safe from the radicals when you say that this is no problem, right? And they're like, yes, we can see how you could possibly have assumed that incorrectly, of course. That's a reasonable assumption, but we weren't lying. We weren't lying. You totally can't sue us for lying in court because we have a loophole. We have a loophole. You see, what we meant by this is no problem is that we had no problem. Meaning no problem. We had no problem. Meaning we kept asking nicely, sending over money, ballots to huge piles of money, holding conferences, writing strongly worded letters, and they just kept saying no, And so that was the no problem, right? It was a no problem that we had. You just heard it wrong. And it's like, okay, hold on. So you mean to say all those times you said, this is no problem, what you really meant was we have a problem with them saying no. Because that feels like a very different sentence to me. I think there's some deconstructive manipulation of the phrases around here. I feel like the phrases have changed suddenly in a political fashion once again. Shouldn't it be like, we have a no problem, not no problem. We have a no problem, at the very least, or even better. We have a problem with them saying no. That would be more clear. A lot of people would have understood that. But the politicians are like, yes. But we felt at the time that people would be able to better digest the message if we said it more like Yoda. If we put it more in Yoda phrase, then it would calm the masses down and it's like, I'm telling you, these dang politicians, that's an outrage because that's not even how Yoda talks, you idiot. That's not how Yoda acts. Well, maybe Disney Yoda talks and acts like that, but not like the real Yoda, Real Yoda would be like, problem you have, plan you do not. Or maybe say no they do, stop them you must, right? That would be Yoda's. With Trump, though, the radicals seem to be the ones who have developed a make a deal or else problem. Make a deal or else problem. And I mean, which is interesting because suddenly the word no seems to be getting used a lot less, I don't know, but I feel like the results have improved. I kind of feel like there's been an improvement in the overall results. I think we're better off, pretty clearly better off. I mean, I just really hope we don't go back to someone like Gavin Newsom who will try to solve the old no problems by standing there and waving his hands awkwardly like he's trying to Jedi mind trick international terrorism. This is no problem. this is no problem. It's not really a mind trick. It's more like it's like a spell or something. He's trying to wave his hands. Your hands don't match what your mouth is saying. I'm all for hand movement, but when your hands are doing things that have no it's like you're doing sign language that's different than the things coming out of your mouth. Like your hands are trying to say that your mouth is lying. That's what your hands are trying to do. So, I mean, if you're going to lie, you need to stop with the hands because the hands are giving it away. The hands are giving it away, man. That's my advice. I shouldn't have given it. He's probably going to win now, but I have to be honest about it. Okay. Anyways, let's bring this back down. And I wrote a song about it. Suno's song. You wrote it with Suno? You traitor to the music industry. It's good. Strike.
For about 30 years or more, nobody's managed to stop the score. Radicals pushing louder each day, while leaders smile and calmly say, relax now folks, just keep it calm. There's really no cause for alarm. But I'm looking around like, hold on bro, you said no problem, I see a whole show. They said no problem, nothing wrong, everything's fine, just move along. But the more they talk, the more I see a whole lot of problems staring at me. They say no problem, nice and slow. Turns out the problem was hearing no. We assumed maybe that's on us. We had a plan, something robust, something strong to keep us safe from radicals losing their faith. And they said, well, yes, we understand why you might think that we had a plan, but technically we never lied. Our wording simply implied this is no problem. That's what we said, but that's not the sentence inside your head. You thought it meant we solved the thread. No, it meant they said no a lot to us. Yet you see what we meant by no problem here was something different than what you hear. We asked politely, sent some aid, held conferences, deals were made, letters written, speeches slow, and every single answer no. So technically yes, the phrase was true. The problem was the no they threw. No problem, that's the line they sell, but it's more like grammar from political hell, because what they meant was simple, bro. We have a problem with them saying no. And I'm like, wait, hold on a sec, that sentence feels a little suspect. If that's what you meant, just say it plain. Don't twist the words like a Jedi brain. Maybe try. We have a no problem. Or clearer still, the problem is they keep saying no. But then the politicians say with pride, we thought the public would better digest if we phrase the message Yoda style best. And I'm like, listen, that ain't right, that's not how Yoda talks or fights. Maybe Disney Yoda in a park parade, but not the real Green Jedi sage. And I'm like, wait, hold on a sec, that sentence feels a little suspect. If that's what you meant, just say it plain. Don't twist the words like a Jedi brain. Maybe try. We have a no problem. Or clearer still, the problem is they keep saying no. But then the politicians say with pride, we thought the public would better digest if we phrase the message Yoda style best. And I'm like, listen, that ain't right, that's not how Yoda talks or fights. Maybe Disney Yoda in a park parade, but not the real Green Jedi sage. Real Yoda would lean on a stick and say, problem you have, plan you lack, or maybe say no they do. Stop them you must not. Conference we hold, strong letter we send. That's not wisdom, that's paperwork. But now something strange has happened lately.
man. I love how all the money was flowing out over there, and they still are claiming. You got guys they look like they're making tons of money just saying basically propaganda, and then as part of their propaganda, they claim that if you say anything positive about Israel, that's because Israel gave you $7,000 from people that are clearly look like they're rolling in cash from I don't care if it came directly from the propaganda providers or if they just gave the talking points and then tweaked the algorithm. Call it what you will, but I mean, there's a little hypocrisy. There's a little bit of hypocrisy. Even Jon Stewart, you know it's bad when Jon Stewart actually makes a joke that is actually aimed in the right direction, because I think he made a joke on so this is the move of Iran. If they get attacked, and what's their strategy? They're gonna attack all of their neighbors. He compared it to a bar fight. It was kind of fun. I saw it on some other podcast, because I haven't watched him for a long time because he's kind of annoying most of the time. But I think every once in a while he gets it right, just like he got it right with the COVID thing, and with comparing he compared the breakout to I don't know if it's really the bats, because it happened right around this area. That's like saying that the chocolatey goodness is not coming from the chocolate factory that's right there. We're in the center of all the chocolatey, like Hershey's chocolate factory is right there. Right? You got that one. Once he breaks out, it's pretty good. So he compared this one to it's like being in a bar fight, and you're getting your crap kicked out of you, and you're like, what are you doing over there? You're sitting over there drinking your drink. Why don't you come over here and jump in and join in and kicking my butt? That seems to be basically the strategy. And it does seem just weird. The strategy does seem weird, right? You're going to attack the people that aren't attacking you yet to try to say that the other guys that aren't actually attacking you right now, you're forced to attack them because the United States attacked you. So it's actually the United States' fault that they were attacked, so they're going to attack you. The logic, I don't understand, the logic of that, But, I guess it's just a fear. If you're trying to install fear, if that's your strategy for so long, then maybe it's it's a fear tactic or something. I just doesn't really register to me. You'd think you'd be like, that doesn't seem like a good idea. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just watching what's happening. But that's what I think, as far as I can tell. Let's go back on over here. Let's try... let's try to do another one of these. Bring it back to 4 o'clock. Now, I was at 7 o'clock. So now I'm at 7 o'clock. That means the collection of notes around D sharp. I was looking at this node, which is the Mixolydian node, which is 5 frets up, 3 strings down. The star of G has the Mixolydian node leaning forward into what I would call shape number 5, or the Mixolydian shape, or the Ionian A shape. Now, if I bring it back, this one should be over here, I think. If I bring it back to 4 o'clock, I'm just going to look at all the interval distance. This was... Hold on, wait a sec. No. Something's wrong. Something is terribly wrong. It's not 7. Let's bring this back to 4 o'clock. It was at 1, 2, 3, 4 back, 12 o'clock. I was at 12 o'clock, which is G sharp. Okay, so that means I'm leaning forward into shape number, what I would call shape number 3, or the Dorian shape, or the Ionian D shape, and I was looking at nodal point number 7, Locrian, and doing what I would call a lean back chord defined by the third being in the lower left quadrant, the second modal half step, third scale degree. So when I go back to 4 o'clock, that means that this nodal point is going to shift to a G. So why is that? Because if I look at it this way here, this G right here is in shape number 1, leaning forward into shape number 1, or the Ionian G shape. It's going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks to the right. So if I'm at 12 o'clock plus 4 would get me to 4 o'clock, because there's only 12 notes that would go around to 4 o'clock. So now I can see everything that's off right now, meaning the ones that are in the ocean, what I would call are outside the collection. These are all the differences between what the relative positions are from the Locrian node to those same relative positions from the Mixolydian node. So now let's analyze that and then adjust our shape as though we're building a chord and stacking one note at a time. So we're going to say I'm in the collection of notes, what I would call 4 o'clock, which means we're on nodal point number 8, one first string down from the ceiling, which is a C, back to A. So that's what I would call position number 1, third string down on fret number 5 is the star of G. And that happens to be the continent of the Mixolydian. The continent is underneath the fretboard shifts. You can't see it, but the world is spinning under the stars, which are the strings. Okay? And then so then I'm building by leaning back. I'm defining it as a lean back chord by the second modal half step or third scale degree being in the lower left quadrant back here. Okay, so if I build a chord, it's going to be, if I'm on nodal point 5, I'm going to go one modal half step up, because that's how I build chord. One modal whole step up, because that's how I build chords, which would be 2 modal half steps. So if I'm on 5, that would give us 6, 7. So that would be nodal point number 7. Nodal point number 7. So that was in the ocean before, because I have a different relative position if I was going from G Locrian, what we had before, to G Mixolydian, what we have now. So this is going to be then, meaning the 7, nodal point number 7, is Mixolydian's first modal whole step times 2 Mixolydian's second modal half step plus 1 Mixolydian's third scale degree, which has a long distance or major distance 4 notes away versus a short distance or minor distance 3 notes away. The Locrian that we looked at before was different because it has the short distance, the only other distance of the two, which would be a minor distance 3 notes away. So if that's the first modal whole step and I'm building a chord, I take every other modal half step, which would be every modal whole step. So the second modal whole step from Locrian would be 7, and then I go around the horn because there's only 7 notes if I'm going around the circle. 1, 2. That would be the Dorian. So the Dorian was out of whack with respect to the G Locrian. The G Locrian has a different relative position for the second modal whole step than the G Mixolydian second modal whole step. So let's if I go from Mixolydian 5, 7, 1, 2. So this is the second modal whole step up. Times 2 would be the fourth modal half step. Plus 1 would be the fifth scale degree, which has a long distance, which you might call a perfect distance of 7 notes away, as opposed to the short distance, which you might call a flat or augmented distance, which would be 6 notes away. So that means that the Locrian fourth modal half step, fifth scale degree, has the weird short distance or flattened distance, and the Mixolydian has the normal long distance or perfect distance. All right, so that's the second modal whole step as we build our chord. Now we go up every other modal half step, which is the third modal whole step. So the third modal whole step will be 2 modal half steps from the Dorian, 2, 3, 4. That gets me to the Lydian. Notice that the Lydian is not out of whack, meaning the distance for the Locrian third modal whole step is the same as the distance for the Mixolydian third modal whole step in relative position. This means that this means that the nodal point number 4 Lydian is always Mixolydian's third modal whole step plus, times 2 6 modal half step plus 1 7th scale degree, and it has a short distance of 10 notes away, which you might call minor, as opposed to a long distance of 11 notes away, which you might call major. so does and as does the Locrian node have a short or minor distance 10 notes away. So they have the same distance there. So if that's the third modal whole step, then I'm going to build my chord next second two modal half steps up, or one modal whole step. That would be the fourth modal whole step is two modal half steps up, 4, 5, 6. So that one's out of whack too, because the fourth modal whole step for the Locrian has a different distance, the other distance of the two, because there's only two distances per modal whole step or modal half step. And so that means, we'll analyze that. That means that nodal point number 6 is always Mixolydian's fourth modal whole step times 2 eighth modal half step plus 1 ninth scale degree. Now, because we went 8 modal half steps up and there's only 7 in the normal or local distance, then I can take 7 minus 1 and say that it also represents, from a local distance perspective, the first modal half step, which we skipped, or the second scale degree, which has a long distance 2 notes away, which you might call major, as opposed to a short distance 1 note away, which you might call minor. Now the Dorian, as you can see, has the Locrian has a short distance between the first modal whole step, second scale degree. So it's the only one of two that has that short distance on that first modal whole step, second scale degree. Sorry. Excuse me. That's what I meant to say. So now let's say. So that's the fourth. If that's the fourth modal whole step, we'll stack another one. Fifth modal whole step is 2 more modal half steps up. So 4. Well, no, I already did that. That was the fourth modal whole step. So 6. One more, 2 modal half steps up, 6, 7, and then around the horn to 1, which is the Ionian. And it has the same relative position from the Locrian node and the Mixolydian, because it's in because it's not in the ocean, basically. So we're going to say, okay, that means that the Ionian is always Mixolydian's 5th modal whole step times 2, 10th modal half step plus 1, 7th scale degree. If we go 10 modal half steps up, we've gone over. There must be a local distance that would be closer by saying 10 minus 7, which would be 3. 10 minus 7 would be 3. Right. Something's wrong here though, because it should be. Oh yeah, this. Why is this here? It would be out here. Yeah. So that would be the third. So it also means there's a local distance then of the third modal half step, which would be plus 1 4th scale degree. So the third modal half step, 4th scale degree, has a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes away, which is normal, but also the short distance. The normal one, or perfect distance, is the short distance. The weird one, the long distance, would be the augmented distance, and you would only have the long 6-note distance if you were measuring from the Lydian node. Nodal point number 4. So, okay, so then if that is the 5th modal whole step, we're going to add another one more to get the stack. 6th, that would be the 6th modal whole step. So if I go 2 modal half steps up, 1, 2, 3 would be right here. Again, there's a different relative position for the 6th modal whole step from Locrian and Mixolydian. So we're going to say, okay, right now it's here. So that means that the nodal point number 3, or Phrygian, is always Mixolydian's 6th modal whole step times 2 would be 12 modal half step plus 1, 13th scale degree, and it has a local distance, because if we go 12 modal half steps up, it's greater than 7. 12 minus 7 is 5, which means the local distance is 1, 2, 3, 4, is the 5th modal half step, or if I include the one that we're on, 6th scale degree, and the Mixolydian has a 9-note away long distance, which you might call major distance, versus the short distance or minor distance. That's why it was different from the measurement when we had the G Locrian instead of the G Mixolydian, because Locrian has the minor distance of 8 notes away. All right. So we're back to the shape we start from typically. All right, so then the one I'm focusing in on is building a chord with that last node, which is the sixth modal whole step. Right? Which is the my egg coffee. Let's see. That's the one I'm focused on, which is the fifth modal half step, sixth scale degree up. So if I was going to name that chord, normally it would be a G. It would be a G major, add 6 or add 13, drop 5. But if you name it by relative nodal point, a Mixolydian chord, you could just call it a Mixolydian 1 plus 5, or just X15. X is for Mixolydian 1, first modal whole step, and then the second slot is measured in modal half steps 5, X15. Right? So then, because I don't, yeah. So okay. All right. So now let's say that I'm gonna change it now to, let's go back to the Phrygian. So now I'm like noodling around in Mixolydian. And I'm like, now I want to do something minor with that minor third, a little bluesy, but make it even darker because it's going to have that first modal half step difference. So I'm going to say, all right. So that's why I might want to do it. So what's the easiest way to do that? Well, I could find it on the same string and then know the shape that it would be in. So if I'm on nodal point number 5 and I want to change that to the Phrygian, it's like, okay, well, where's the Phrygian right now? It's nodal point number 3. So that means it's the fastest way to get there on the same string is it's 2 nodal points back. 2 nodal points back would be here. And I know the distance there because a whole half means going forward. 3 to 4 is always a half step. 4 to 5 is always a whole step. That means going backwards. 5 to 4 is a negative whole step, and 4 to 3 is a negative half step. So you could be able to, you could find the distance. You could start memorizing the distance of between 3 and 5. The distance is always a minor third going forward, or it's always a, I would call it a Phrygian, well, let's not get in, I don't, my head's going. But in any case, you could start memorizing the distance between each of the nodal points, which never change. If you don't change the numbers, you could memorize the distances, and over time you would have all the distances between every nodal point, which are always the same between. Wouldn't that be like useful? Like, I feel like if you don't change the numbers, you could do that, and that would be really helpful. I can't do it right now. I'm not saying that I'm just saying, like, I'm aspiring to be able to do it because it would be cool. You know what stops me from aspiring to do it? Changing the frickin' number system every time I want to be in a different. Okay. This is in leaning forward into what I call shape number 5, or the Mixolydian shape, or the Ionian A shape, right? So if I was to play that right there, it would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Now, what if I was to move that up here? and just say, now I could just play it. I could just move that whole shape up mentally and say, oh, this is just going to be the same shape here. It's just like I'm leaning forward. Every time the third string down from the ceiling is a Phrygian, if I want to make that a Phrygian, well, that means I'm leaning forward into shape number 5. So I could just, I'm leaning forward in shape number 5. So it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. I think I got that right. So that means, but what does that actually mean? Well, that means that the whole shape has shifted 2 ticks to the right. Do I have to shift the whole shape? Because I just want to make maybe I just want to make like a Phrygian chord right there because I think it would sound cool, but I don't want to shift the shape. Well, that's fine. If you want to build a chord on it, it would be nice if you can say, look, I'm not going to change the from 4 o'clock. I'm just going to keep it at 4 o'clock, but I'm going to name whatever chord I'm doing here a Mixolydian / Phrygian chord, and then name the modal whole steps and modal half steps or whatever I'm doing. That way, I can tell people, look, I'm not changing my frame of reference. I'm sticking here, but the planet hasn't rotated, but I'm doing something outside. Or I could just name the weird distances from measuring them from here, meaning I'm going to pick up notes that are in the ocean from the perspective of this nodal point. Although that's probably not how most people would think, right? They're probably going to be thinking, oh, look, I'm going to build a Mixolydian type chord on this. Therefore, just call it. I'm going to build a Phrygian chord on top of the Mixolydian node. Okay. Well, if it's a 3, if it's going to be a Phrygian chord, then why not just say it's going to be a Mixolydian / Phrygian 3 modal whole step chord, right? So then you don't have to change the collection of notes, but you can also tell people what you're doing, instead of like, I don't know. So, but that's going to be 1, 2, 3 ticks up. So if I'm on nodal point number 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, that'll be nodal point number 7, which is the collection of notes around D sharp. So boom, we shift that so you can see it. Boom, it went up here. The whole thing really fast. You couldn't see it, but it shifted up here. Bam, and so now I'm leaning. This is the one I'm on. The star of G has not moved because that's the string. The star's on top, but underneath you couldn't see it. But the fretboard world shifted, and now like my fingers on top of the planet or the continent. There's 7 continents, 5 ocean, and it's on the Phrygian continent, which is continent number 3, and like so now I'm leaning forward into shape number 5, Mixolydian shape, or the Ionian A shape. Let's bring it back to 4 and say, okay, what if I don't know the shape from there? I only memorize them from the top string. So I memorize them from the top string. Okay, there it is on the top string. What shape is that? Shape number 4, you might call it the Phrygian / Lydian shape or the Ionian C shape. Now to finger it, it might be better to do up here so that you can see the fingers that are not in open position because open position messes up your fingering, right? So it would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. What could I pretend that this star of G has the same shape as like the top string of shape number 4? Because like I know that shape and I want to make this Phrygian. So could I just think, and that's the only place like I know the Phrygian shape is like from the top string closest to the ceiling down, not pitch wise, but like from the ceiling. Yeah, you go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, and then you have to shift up because we're crossing the fault line. 2, 3. So you could totally do that. Why does that even work, man? Why does that even work? Because like, if you could pull the continent down 2 ticks. Every tick down is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right. So that 2 ticks down would be equivalent to 10 ticks to the right. And then you're going to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ticks. So it would be 10 minus 7, which is a net of 3 to the right, which would take us from 4 to 7. right? 4 to 7. So now when I do this, I'm going to change this to 7, but you won't be able to notice it because it happens real fast. But if you look really close, then it's not shifting from here up like we did last time, but really this time it's shifting down and then back like that. Okay, it's the same. But we're going to imagine like it would be the same either way. It's probably not doing either one. It's kind of blinking into play. But anyway, I'm going to imagine that it's not going like this way. It's like shifting down into that. And if it does that, then like these two strings are going to cross the fault line. And when it crosses the fault line, because the fault line shifts everything up to the right relative to the top part, this tectonic plate shifts to the right. So when it crosses the fault line, it's going to go to the right and then to the left. So that means it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the left, but it goes to the right first and then like 7 to the left, which is a net of 6 to the left. Okay, so let's try it. If I go boom, boom. So there it is. So this time it moved that way. You probably couldn't tell, but that's see? And now you have the same shape. Okay, well, what if I counted it from this node, and I was like, could I do that? Like so then it's going to go down 2, which is again 10. 2 ticks down is equivalent to 10 ticks to the right, or 14 to the left, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10 plus 5 is 15. 15 is already over 12. So I could take 15 minus 12, or 5 minus 2 is 3, which once again, 3 plus 4 will give us to 7 o'clock. So if I do that, yeah, that'll work. So this time I'm going to change that to 7, and this is going to move down this time. This one's not going to move down. It's not going to move just to the right, but no, this time it's going to move down 2 ticks and to the right 5 ticks. And like, okay, and then like these two strings are going to move down across the fault line, and they're going to go, but when they do that, they shift to the right going across the fault line, and then they're going to go to the right another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks, meaning it's a net of 6 ticks to the right is what's going to happen this time. Okay, it looks like it's the same thing, but watch really close. Boom. Okay, see this one moved down here, and then it went like over here, and then when those strings crossed the fault line, that they went to the right, but they were shifted to the right like 6 instead of 5 because of the fault line. All right, so let's map this one out. So now we're on the Phrygian, and we can say, okay, if I'm on the Phrygian, what's the first modal whole step away from the Phrygian? It's 2 modal half steps, 3, 4, 5. That one's out of whack, meaning when I measured it from the Mixolydian, we had a different relative distance than when I measure it from the Phrygian. That's because the major has well, let's move it over. I'll explain it, but we're going to go over here. That means nodal point number 5, Mixolydian, is actually always, by the way, always, nodal point number 5 is always nodal point number 3's first modal whole step times 2 second modal half step plus 1 third scale degree, which has a short distance, which is only 3 notes away, as opposed to a long distance of 4 notes away, as was the case with the Mixolydian, which is why this one was in the ocean with a relative position. Now you might say, how is that a short distance? It looks longer. Because when we measure this, 5 notes between the strings, 5, and then this is going down, 4. So that one's 4 away versus this one to 3 away. All right, so then so that's the first modal whole step. And now I'm going to stack another one, which would be the second modal whole step, which is 2 modal half steps up, 5, 6, 7. That would be the Locrian node. It has the same relative position from the Mixolydian node as with not the Locrian, but the second modal whole step has the same relative position from the Phrygian as with the Mixolydian, because it's not in the ocean, right? It's just, I didn't move it. And that means that the Locrian is always the Phrygian's second modal whole step times 2 fourth modal half step plus 1/5 scale degree, which has a distance, a long distance of 7 notes away, which you might call perfect, as opposed to a short distance of 6 notes away, which you would have to then call diminished or flattened or whatever you want to call it. It's the same distance because all of the nodes have a long or 7 note away or perfect 4th modal half step 5th scale degree, except when you measure from the Locrian. That's what makes it crazy. Crazy. So then we're going to go 2nd modal whole step, adding another one, stacking. 3rd modal whole step from there is going to be 2 modal half steps up. So I'm at 7. There's only 7 in the circle of 7 notes, the collection that we are working in, which is always a 7-note collection. That's going to be 7, 1, 2, therefore. That gets us to the Dorian. Now, it, too, is in the same relative position as we measured from Mixolydian to now measuring from the Phrygian. Not the Dorian, but the 3rd modal whole step is in the same relative position. So that means that the Dorian is always, nodal point 2 is always nodal point 3, or Phrygian's 3rd modal whole step times 2, 6 modal half step plus 1 7th scale degree, which has a short distance of 10 notes away, which you might call minor, as opposed to a long distance, 11 notes away, which you might call major. Why is that the same when Mixolydian is a major mode or long start mode, and the Phrygian is a minor mode or a short start mode? Because the Mixolydian has that short distance, right? And really, the collection is only based on the distance to the 2nd modal half step 3rd scale degree, really, right? You could try to shoehorn everything else into it, and maybe that is helpful from a memorization standpoint, but not really. If you really think about it, probably not the best way to do it. But I don't know. But anyway, we're going to say, so that's going to be the 3rd modal whole step. If I add the next one, 4th modal whole step, is going to be 2 more modal half steps up from there. So that's going to be 2, 3, 4. So once again, that one the 4th modal whole step has a different relative distance when we were measuring from a Mixolydian nodal point or tonic to the Phrygian modal point or tonic. So this would mean that nodal point number 4, the Lydian, is always Mixolydian's 4th modal whole step times 2 8th modal half step plus 1 9th scale degree. If we go 8 modal half steps up, we've gone over the circle of 7. So 8 minus 7 means that it also represents the local distance of 1 modal half step up, plus, if I count the one we're on, 2nd scale degree, which has a short distance or 1 note away distance or minor distance, as opposed to long distance, which would be 2 notes away or major distance, noting that this being a minor nodal point, being in the minor club or the short start club, does not mean that it's going to have a minor 1st modal half step 2nd scale degree, because most of them do not, right? That's why, again, that doesn't really work, because the Mixolydian has what you would call a major 2nd, as does the Dorian. Okay, but anyways, that's why it's different when I look at the measurement from the tonic of a Phrygian to the tonic of a Mixolydian. Okay, so then if I'm on nodal point number nodal point number 4 plus another one would be 4th modal whole step to 5th modal whole step would be 2 more modal half steps up, would be 4, 5, 6. So nodal point number 6, it has the same relative distance when I measured from a Mixolydian root to the Phrygian root. And we can see that then nodal point number 6, which is the Aeolian, is always the Phrygian's 5th modal whole step times 2, 10th modal half step plus 1, 11th scale degree, which has 11th scale degree, and because it's 10 modal half steps up, that means that there must be a local distance, because we've gone around the circle of 7 notes in our collection. 10 minus 7 would be 3, meaning it has a local distance of 3 modal half steps up. That's the one that we skipped when we skip every other note, obviously, right? That's why we end up an octave higher So that means it has a local distance, and that's what if you take the octaves out of the equation. So that would be meaning it's 3 modal half steps up, or if I count the root 4th scale degree, which has a short distance, or you might call that perfect distance as opposed to a long distance, or an augmented distance. Now this is the one where the short distance for the 4th modal half step 5th scale degree is normal, right? It's always normal. That's the only, right? That's the normal distance. And you will have a short distance or perfect distance for the 4th modal half step 5th scale degree when you measure from any node except when you measure from the Lydian node, okay? So then, okay, so that's going to be I'm sorry, that was the, right, 4th, that was the 5th modal half, no, I got out of whack. Was that was the 4th modal half step 5th scale degree. But when I'm talking modal whole steps, it was the 5th modal whole step. So one more jump, 5 plus another one. Now we're looking at the 6th modal whole step, and that's going to be 2 more modal half steps up from the Aeolian, which completes all the notes in the 7 note collections because we skipped all of them going around, and then we picked up the ones that we skipped going around, 6, 7, 1. So that's the one we're focused on. It has a different, because it was in the ocean, so that means it has a different relative distance. The 6th modal whole step has a different relative distance from the perspective of the Mixolydian as tonic as opposed to the Phrygian as the tonic. That means that nodal point number 1 is always, that's the Ionian. Ionian is always the nodal point number 3, or Phrygian's 6th modal whole step times 2, which would be 12th modal half step plus 1 13th scale degree. If it's 12 modal half steps up, then that means it must have a local distance of 12 minus 5, which is 5. So it has 5 modal half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which if I make that as part of the count would be the 6th scale degree. And it has a short 5th modal half step 6th scale degree, which is 8 notes away, as opposed to the Mixolydian, which has a long 5th modal half step 6th scale degree of 9 notes away. And that's why there was a difference there. All right. Whew. I think this is what's making you sick right here. This is no, this is helpful. This is helping taking my mind off of. Okay, so if I was to play something like that, so now under normal naming convention, I'm trying to grab this one, so I might have to drop everything else. I want to get the 3rd for sure. I'm going to have to drop that 5 unless I pick the 5 up. I could pick a 5 up above it, like up here. 4th modal half step 5th scale degree. But let's say I just grab and then I could bar off. Now that I have, yeah, no, not gonna be barring at all. Yeah. So, anyways, if I just had these 3 notes, boom, 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 then I'd have to call that under normal naming convention G major, add 6 or 13, drop 5. If you named it under my convention, those 3 nodes, just by relative position, it would be a Phrygian 1, or 1st modal whole step, plus 4th, plus 4. The normal naming convention would be a G major, add 6 or 13, drop 5. Mine would be, I would name it as from the Phrygian node, it would be a Phrygian 1 modal whole step plus 5th modal half step. Or Phrygian is a P, so I'd say P15. P15. It's a lot faster. Now, what if I picked up the fifth up top? So now I've got the root, I've got the second modal half step third, I've got the fifth modal half step sixth, and I've got the fourth modal half step fifth. So under normal naming convention, that would be a G major add 6 or 13. Under my naming convention, it would be a Phrygian second modal whole step, because the stack now would take every other modal half step or every modal whole step up to that point, which is now normally a 3-note triad. So it's going to be the tonic plus 2 modal whole steps up, and then we're going to say plus the fifth modal half step. So it would be Phrygian is P2 5. P2 5. Now, what if I wanted to make this 5 an octave higher? Do I have to say it's 5 plus 7 or 12? No, you say P2 5 raised an octave. That way I can list everything in local position and change octaves up or down that way. And I think that's the most efficient way to do it, as far as I can tell. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not. I could be wrong, but I'm not. All right. I've asked the AIs. The AIs lie to you. Okay, maybe, but they lie to me less than people do. I'll tell you that. At least they had an honest glitch. They're trying to be honest at least. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're lying to me. I know chat's lying to me now. I'll tell you that. Chat's been paid off by the freaking same people that paid Tucker off. I feel like. Can't believe they got to Megyn Kelly. It's ridiculous. I think she's just mirroring Tucker. I don't know. Whatever. No, she took the same money. She took the money. You could tell. You could. Anyway, we're in the collection of notes around the key of C. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth fret up, third string down is going to be the star of G on the string. Underneath it, we're on the continent of Mixolydian, which is continent number 5. So I want to make it a Phrygian. So Phrygian, if that's nodal point number 5, that means that the Phrygian is going to be 2 modal half steps back. So that means it's right here on the same string, and that is leaning, if that's the nodal point, it's leaning forward into shape number 5, or the Mixolydian shape, or the Ionian A shape. If I move the globe underneath the strings up 1, 2, 3 frets, then 3 ticks to the right, if I'm at 4 o'clock, meaning that Ionian's on the 4th note, which is C, then I move it up 3, it's going to land on 4, 5, 6, 7, note number 7, which is D sharp. So we're going to say, all right, 1, 2, 3 ticks to the right, and that means now there it is. I'm leaning forward into shape number 5, which is going to be the Mixolydian shape or the Ionian A shape. Move it on back. All right, so now let's say that I don't know it by there, but I know it by this 3 up top here. So that means it's going to be moving down 2 ticks and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks. So if I do that, every tick down is equivalent to 5 to the right or 7 to the left. 5's easier to count in. So I'm going to say that 2 ticks down is equivalent to 10 ticks to the right plus another 5, 15 ticks. That's already over 12. So 15 minus 12 is 5 minus 2, or a net of 3 ticks to the right. So that means that we're going to have then 3 plus 4 is 9. Did I get it? 1, 2, 1, 2, yeah. 4 o'clock plus 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is 7. What are 9? Okay, so if I go back on over from the perspective of the yellow, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, third string down, my finger's still on the star of G, leaning forward into shape number 5, Mixolydian shape, or the Ionian A shape, which I can visualize represented by the red as though it's the top shape, the top string of shape number 4, as long as I account for the kink in the tuning when I'm fingering that bad doggy. Let's represent it this way. This way is, by the way, non-guitar centric, which I know that is an argument people make, that this is okay if you want to do wonky jazz guitar or something, but everything else doesn't work. And it's like, no, this maps out on even the piano, it maps out. But let's just be honest here. The piano is the thing that everything is tied to, which doesn't map onto anything else because the keys are not all uniform size. That's what the whole problem. The whole problems are coming from the fact that so no, it's not guitar centric, because you can have the entire like constellation on top of the nodal points, you know, and then move it and then look at whatever constellation is important to you, which to us is a guitar. That's the guitar centric part, the size of the constellation we're looking at. But you could make it a flute, you could make it a bass, you could make this shape, whatever lines up to your instrument, right? And it would work on any instrument. Now on the piano, well, it doesn't quite work on the piano because how do you see the big keys and the small keys? Yeah, we have to imagine the keys are like they are in the Platonic sky of music, all the same. Okay, that's the instrument's beauty and curse. Okay, there's problems and benefits of it. This is not guitar centric. The sharp flat thing, that's piano centric. Let's just okay. And anyway, so if I was to do this, then we can see that the string on top is the open E is nodal point number 3, or Phrygian open A is nodal point 6, or Aeolian open D is nodal point 2, or Dorian open G is nodal point 5, or Mixolydian open B is nodal point 7, or Locrian open E is nodal point 3 Phrygian. The kink in the tuning is represented by the shift of the shape, and this is 0 fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th fret out when we're looking at the 4th rotation, 4 o'clock, meaning C is Ionian, 3rd string down. That gets us to the star of G, so our finger's on the string. The string represents the stars. The star of G doesn't change. Our finger does not move, but the planet is going to rotate underneath it, currently on the continent of Mixolydian, or the nodal point number 5. So we're leaning forward into shape number 1, which you might call the Ionian G shape, or the Aeolian shape, if you want to define it that way. I want to make that nodal point the Phrygian. I want to play G Phrygian instead of G Mixolydian. So how can I do that? Well, I can look at it where it is in the current collection of notes. If this is a 5, the Phrygian is 2 modal half steps back, which has a distance of 1, 2, 3 back, because there's always a distance of 1 modal half step back between 5 and 4, and I'm sorry, one half whole step back, note whole step back between nodal point 5 and 4, and 1 half step between 4 and 3, because of the formula whole, whole, half. So that means if I'm over here, I'm going to have to move it forward 1, 2, 3 ticks, 3 rotations. That means that this Ionian is going to go 3, that 1 is going to go 3 ticks up to D sharp. That means that the collection of notes we're in is going to go from 4 o'clock plus 3 ticks, which will be 7 o'clock, D sharp. If you make A1, D sharp is 7. All right, we bring it up. There it is. Hermosa. So now we're in, from the perspective of the yellow, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th fret up, 3rd string down. My finger has not moved from the star of G on the string, but underneath it, the planet has rotated to the right, and so now we're on the continent of the Phrygian continent, continent number 3, leaning forward into shape number 5, which would be the Mixolydian shape. We have the collection of notes at 7 o'clock. We can see that by the Ionian being on D sharp. And you might also call this shape the Ionian A shape. All right, let's bring it back. bring it back. And then let's say I only know this from like, I only know this shape from like the top string up here. So I can see up here, if I want to make that the Phrygian, could I visualize it from the shape that I know when I build a Phrygian scale at the top, right? So on the top string, because I know the top string best and the shapes from the top string. So like, yeah, we could do that, I think, because what is this shape? That would be shape number 4, which you might call the Phrygian/Lydian shape, or you might call it the Ionian C shape. So that means if I play this as though it is that shape, what's happening? I'm kind of visualizing it as it goes down 2 ticks, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks to the right. Each tick down is 5 ticks to the right. Therefore, a total of 10 ticks. 2 ticks down is 10 ticks to the right, plus another 5 ticks to the right is 15 to the right. We've gone over a full rotation. So if we take octaves out of the equation, it would be 15 minus 12 or 5 minus 2, which would net out to 3 ticks to the right. So that means that we have, once again, 4 o'clock plus 3 gets us to 7 o'clock. So we go down and then over, ba-boom, ba-bam. All right. So that means that now we once again are at, from the perspective of the red, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Third string down. My finger hasn't moved from the string which represent the stars. It's still on the star of G, but the planet underneath, you can't see it, but it's changing. It's rotating under your fingers, under the fretboard. And this, now you were hovering over the continent of Mixolydian, which we named continent number 5. There's 7 continents, 5 oceans, just like the planet here. But now we're hovering over continent Phrygian, which we call continent number 3. We're leaning forward into what we might call the Mixolydian shape, or shape number 5, which you might also call the Ionian A shape. And we see that we're in the collection of notes at 7 o'clock, because 7 would be a D sharp if A is 1, and you just number the notes. And we can also see from the perspective of the red that that's basically telling us that my fingering for basically the Phrygian scale, if you want to call it that, is the same if I visualize it as though it's the top string of shape number 4, or the Ionian C shape, as long as I account for the kink in the tuning as I go down, even though that would be the same thing as visualizing it as the third string down, fifth of leaning forward into shape number 5. Okay, I kind of said that messed up, but I'm going to stop. You can stop on the messed up way you said it. Yes, that's where I'm going to stop, because that just shows I need that shows that I have room for improvement. So I have a pick in my mouth. That shows I have room for improvement. So that's where I'm going to stop.